All systems are go.
Roger that, Control. We will go for console launch.
Roger that, VCS. Power supply is plugged in. Cartridge port is open.
VCS is now at full distribution and great sales anticipated ahead. Control, we have a problem. There's a dip in sales. In television and ColecoVision, catching up fast. We can't keep up with them. We're losing them. We're losing them!
The Atari VCS video game console, past its prime. Atarians, we can rebuild it. We have the technology. We have the capability to make the world's first personal arcade machine. The 5200 will be that machine. Better than the VCS. Better graphics, faster processor, stronger arcade game library.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, your captain speaking. Welcome to another Atari 5200 host update, part 2, The Wrath of Kong. We do have a little bit of news from each one of our hosts, and we have a little bit of community news. We're going to chat about a few things. Yeah, we are going to mention the Atari VCS, now fully and obscenely funded by Indiegogo. Let's see where this thing goes. I'm abstaining for now. Want to see how things progress with this project. But other than that, plenty of news from all. We have our host, as always, David. David, yay!
Yay, David!
Oh,
David, hello!
oh I'm sorry. The old man had to take a nap.
How old are you? Are you like 90?
Boy! I'm 49 going on 94.
Good, I'm not the only one.
You're a young man up there in Maple Leaf Land. You know, come on.
Yeah, Maple Leaf Land where it sucks if you are an Atari 5200 fan. You can't find crack.
Oh,
Can't find crap. Excuse me. Crack. I don't need crack. I'm already high-strung enough.
I was going to say,
David,
and if you do have crack, they're going to cut the package open and take it from you.
And I'm going over here trying to win some stuff. And I'm bidding here for like 5200 stuff that apparently nobody wants.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, and I lost everything.
Oh.
Okay. So Super Cobra, it's a complete. Didn't say new, just complete Super Cobra. I lost that. It sold for $61.33.
Holy smokes!
Okay.
Is that with box?
Yeah, it's complete.
Yeah, complete.
Okay, then they have some 8-bit conversions for them over to the 5200.
Okay,
So I bid on Donkey Kong. Come on, whatever. Lost that, $46.92.
46?
Okay, that's just a loose cart. Then Caverns of Mars. I lost that. That one was okay, more reasonable, $21.33, but it probably only sold that low because I didn't put my max bid high enough.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. And then Blaster's like a prototype, I think, something like that. It has been put on cart. Okay, so I thought, I'll pick up Blaster, And the guy's selling from the UK, okay? Oh, I lost that, $55.42.
Oh, my God.
Oh, then Pac-Man Jr. lost that, $36.
Think of all the money you saved. It's like hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, I know.
Those homebrews and those conversions that you're talking about, Dave, I every day I go to eBay, and I'll update during the podcast how my collection's going. But, I see those homebrews and those conversions, they're expensive.
But I'm surprised at the prices that these things are reselling.
Because they're unheard of.
Yeah, I tried to get Montezuma's Revenge now. Was new in box, so it was never opened, apparently. Brand new copy, sealed, Montezuma's Revenge, sold for $122.50.
Whoa.
Wait. What?
Yeah, Montezuma's Revenge, brand new, sealed.
When I was at Taco Bell yesterday, I had Montezuma's Revenge for $1.98.
I Thanks,
The
Phil.
great Glenn. How are you?
Glenn, was that on a cart?
I could have went down the cart. I didn't make it to the bathroom in time.
Okay, well, that could be the only version I end up being able to afford.
I can make as many copies as you like.
As always, we have Glenn from Glenn's Retro Show.
Hello, everybody.
Woohoo! Glenn's here.
Our resident Rudy, Steve Averett.
Hey, how you doing, gentlemen? Good to be here. I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit of controller information with you.
Excellent. And, of course, from the Motor City itself, our team player and local sports expert, Peter. How you doing, Peter?
Oh, well, gentlemen, hello. Looking forward to talking about all things Atari 5200.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Well, so anyways, a quick update on what's going on with us. We do apologize for the big gap between us doing our last update, and here we are doing a next update. We're going to try to get things a little bit busier, but I'll tell you what, we had to get through cold and flu season. We had to get through the holidays. We had to get through this. We had to get through that. Job changes, all sorts of things. In fact, as my grandmother used to say, and it rhymes in Italian. I don't remember what it says in Italian, but she used to say this great line: life gets in the way of living. So hopefully we're going to get things back on track. We'll get another episode. In fact, I believe it's going to be Real Sports Baseball and Real Sports Tennis for the 5200. Going to talk about those. But lately, here's what's been going on with me. I've been very much on the road for the airline. The downside is that I have had very little time to explore the retro gaming world. I've been, for lack of a better term, a stalker on the internet and on Facebook with all the things that are going on. There are some incredible things. David, I think you've been really keeping up fairly well with it, so we'll mention it when we get to you. Mm-hmm. So I've been trying to get reacquainted with everything. One of them is to just replay tennis and remember how that game operates. And I did actually have some downtime in my home away from home, Minneapolis. And I was able to pick up an inbox copy, complete, of Super Cobra. And I did post that on the Facebook page. So go to the Facebook page, kind of page down a little bit, and you'll see you'll see the game that I actually found in the wild for a reasonable price, which we'll get to here in a second. Everybody has lost their mind for a game machine that nobody wants. So there you go. Yeah. I'm also practicing my soldering skills. I'm trying to get the installation. I got a nice, beautiful case, 5200 case. I need to tear it apart, take out the motherboard in that's inoperative, and then put the motherboard that you gave me, mm-hmm. Get the power cord soldered onto that. And like I said, I'm practicing my soldering skills. I don't want to bugger this up, but I want to be able to get, basically it's an asterisk code 5200 console up and running. So that means I'll have two 5200s, two 2600s. One of these days I got to get myself a 7800. But yeah, I'm trying to keep the sanity to a normal level. So also I've been playing my copy of Sinistar that I got at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. It's a homebrew from Atari Age. The game is gorgeous.
Yep.
Oh, anybody who's a Sinistar fan, you know what? You know how the 5200 is. You should own it just for like you can own a 5200 and be perfectly happy with like 5 games. Star Raiders. Yeah, Star Raiders, Centipede, Missile Command. Some of the Defender is another one.
Oh, absolutely.
You can be happy with 5 of these games and go, man, this machine is great. I'm going to tell you, Sinistar is number 6. If there's a homebrew game that people need to go out, get a 5200 just so they can play this game, it's about as arcade accurate as you can get. I mean, we even have voice synthesis on it.
Well, Bob,
it's awesome.
So it actually wasn't a homebrew. It wasn't in the homebrew in the sense that somebody from the homebrew community from scratch coded it.
Oh,
it actually would have come out. It was planned to come out.
I believe it was an almost done game, and then somebody took it, finished it, and then it was released.
Now I got a question about
like
that.
Tempest.
Just like Tempest, that's right.
So I got a question about that. Was it originally slated for 16 for a 16K chip, or was it a 32K chip? Because I think the Cinestar that I have at home is 32K, so it can pull off that voice synthesis.
And I have no clue.
Okay.
So David's
sure.
research department scratch 0 on that one.
No, that's fine. Hey, we're this whole show is about discovery. So you know what? It gives us another mine shaft to dig up.
Oh, yeah. Well, don't worry. Look, once we finish the 69 games, we're going to go on to homebrew and 8-bit conversions. By my estimation at the time, at the frequency of our podcast episodes being released, I'm looking at 2050.
Excellent. I'll be cashing out my 401k by that time. I'll have plenty of time to pick up whatever I need.
We'll probably all catch up on this podcast in our retirement.
Exactly. Also, I don't know if I posted this or not. I'm trying to get information about this article. Now, it was published back in September 2017, and apparently there were some internal documents at Atari where they were talking about taking a ColecoVision, combining it with a 5200,
Yep.
putting it in the same box, and building this ultra gaming system.
Apparently it was a Blockbuster memo. It was I can't remember who all the people who were involved in it, but I believe it was a Blockbuster memo because back in those days, I guess you went to rent games at Blockbuster.
Yeah,
So
Blockbuster
it was something
the
being
place.
looked at. Yeah.
So was that going to? Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. What was this going to be, a Blockbuster proprietary machine that they were going to sell under their own label? And so they would have Atari, they'd have ColecoVision, they'd get the two together, combine it inside one machine, and then they could basically double their library, double their rentals, and have this proprietary machine that they could sell on their own. Where, well, if you wanted it, it was like any other exclusive that are so common right now.
But if
Go
I
ahead.
remember from what I read, I think there was two avenues they were looking at. Either one would have been like a hybrid. It would have been two consoles in one, and I think the other one would have been an add-on for the 5200.
Okay.
Basically tit for tat. You stole all our 2600 games. Okay, no problem. We're going to now steal all your ColecoVision games. Okay, you like that? Is that nice? Okay.
Gotcha. All right, that'd be interesting.
Something like that.
Yeah, so I've been on my off time, what little off time I've had between taking care of family and on the road 24/7 practically. I've been trying to dig away and try to find some sort of information on that, but it's a lot of the stuff. It's like sands in the hourglass. It gets lost and.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
Good luck finding it.
Those were the days of our lives.
Those were the days of our lives.
This is MacDonald Carey.
I guess one more
God, I
thing
feel like
is...
humming the theme song now.
Yeah. Okay, anyways. And I guess the last thing is, hey, it's the big news. Indiegogo got funded to a ludicrous amount. Looks like Atari's bringing back the VCS. I like my other co-hosts here are kind of, I don't know. What do you guys think about all this? I mean,
I look at the price or the amount of money they raised, and they could probably set that price a little lower, and then they'd sell a lot more. Maybe they could sell it for $150.
Well,
but I don't know. I'm a little skeptical. I'm probably not going to go out and grab one initially, but I guess it just depends.
Steve, you want a big company to sell something new on a discount? Come on, man. They got to make a ton of money.
I got to
they
tell
already
you,
make a ton of money.
got to tell you something. I know through a source that Atari approached At Games with this console. At Games turned it down. Now, what does that tell you?
Oh, that's not a good sign.
They said there was no way it was going to work. It was not a good system. If that game shoved the nose at something like that, that's a sign right there.
Well, it's either going to be one of those things where we look back in retrospect and we could say, oh yeah, we told you so, or it could turn out to be this gangbuster off the hook success. And everybody's just kind of looking around going, gee, what happened here? But I will give an argument why it could be a success. First of all, I'll get rid of my beef about the system. I don't like the fact that you have to buy your controllers separately.
Okay.
I don't like that. I think it's cheap. I think you should get at least one or maybe one of each with the system. I think that would be more than fair. If you wanted to add to it, sure, or one of each. I don't know. Here's a game system, and now you're going to, for $300, now you're going to soak me for another $40 to $50 to get the controller so I could actually play the games. It just, I don't know. But you guys do some modern gaming. Is that typical within the modern gaming profile of things?
I'd say you always get a controller with the new system. Yeah.
You know what? You know what gets me more than anything, honestly? When you look back at Coleco, Atari, Mattel, back in the 80s, they were it. They were the big three. They were prominent. You heard Atari, you heard Coleco, you thought of quality and stuff. You got these other guys coming out of nowhere, buying the IP property of the name. Right? And they are building basically crapware. I mean, look at the Coleco Chameleon. That was flag number one. But that whole fiasco. The Coleco name, aside from the community that keeps it alive, the Coleco name itself is absolute trash, including the two new systems they're bringing out, Robotech and Rainbow Bright. Give me a break. So you got them basically just using the name, try and get some money, and they're trashing the memory of it. Just like now, I personally feel Atari's been doing that with Railroad Tycoon and this console here. And I'm going to stretch even more into Star Wars with The Last Jedi. I rest my case.
Well, if I could just add something. Firstly, if you take a look at how much they raised on Indiegogo, a couple of million or whatever, but take a look at how many backers there were. Okay, so I think there was about a little bit over. The last time I checked was over about 10,000, right?
Okay.
To have a successful console, 10,000 is nothing. What did the 5200 sell in the short 2 years? Maybe close to 1 million units?
I think so, at least.
Okay. So, secondly,
and they did that, and they sold those consoles during the crash.
Yeah. So first thing, don't get excited that there were actually people going to back this, because firstly, for me, it doesn't show any confidence in the product that you're asking people to pay up front for a system that, as far as I know, I don't even know if it's finished yet. Now, plus you have the controversy that the games that they were showing that were playing on it were actually playing off a PC.
AKA Chameleon.
Okay?
Yeah, that would be Tempest 4000 that they were showing. Yeah, that was not being played on that's hardware.
That's right.
One thing they said is they do own the copyright to the game, but they do not own the code of the game they showed. And they showed a game running on a PC. Now they claim in the ad they basically said, this is simulated. They never said it was actually running on the VCS.
Yeah. Okay, but let me put it to you this way. If I have to buy a pair of binoculars to watch that video or whatever, watch what's going on so that we can find out that the fine print says that, if that's not being shown off right off the bat, like being put out there, okay, listen, this is a game for demonstration purposes only. We're looking to put something like this on our system. If you have to find that out through other people who have investigated and stuff like that. But
here's the thing: is this the new way of doing things, where you come out with an idea, you get the technology lined up, but let's face it, research and development, unless you're Microsoft or Sony, look at the the huge company that Sega was. I mean, they put out console after console after console, and yet even they got to a point where it's like, you know what, we cannot compete against these monsters, these media monsters of, you know, again, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo's hanging in there, but you know, sort of barely. Again, they're still more than viable and everything else, but still, I mean, it is tough to break into this market when you have a couple of companies that can take huge losses. In fact, if I remember correctly, way back when there was this little company called Microsoft, and they were coming out with this little game machine called the Xbox, and everybody was scratching their heads going, why are you guys Microsoft, you guys make software. Why are you guys going for this game machine? I had a friend who was head of finance for that division. And what she told me was this. Every machine that they made at Microsoft, every Xbox machine that was sold at a loss.
Yep.
They never made money back until you bought your 10th game.
Wow.
It's a lot of games.
That's a lot of games.
Yeah, you lost money on me.
Well,
yeah.
Now, this is an Atari podcast, so forgive me for interjecting Intellivision into it.
Oh, go ahead.
But I'm sure that you've heard the news of Tommy Tallarico buying some portion of Intellivision, and he's coming out with a family-friendly console that's an Intellivision but updated, and it's from what I hear, it's not supposed to be more than $180. It's not competing with anybody, and it's truly meant to capture what the Intellivision was, the simple kind of games that we used to play, but with updated 2D graphics and such, right? Now, I don't know who's financing that, but as far as my understanding, there's not going to be any like Indiegogo. It's going to be a regular product. They're developing it. It's going to come out like any other regular product would. So I'm a little bit apprehensive of people who want to take money up front for something that essentially is not there yet. So you know what?
That's the scary thing, though. In our modern times, it seems like that is becoming more and more the normal. Then this is the new business model that should be done. Why spend our money for research and development when we can spend the money of people who want this thing, and then we can go out and do the R&D and put this thing together and put it into production? It's kind of cool because, hey, you're going to get what you're going to get. Good example. I almost went in for it until my wife found out about it, and then I had to cancel it. But yeah.
Well, don't forget.
Yes.
Well, don't forget, Bob. Where did the Coleco Chameleon go? Indiegogo. What is Indiegogo? You don't need to have any working prototype. I'm a Commodore 64 fan, as you probably also know. I backed an Indiegogo. It was called a keycap. Basically, there were replacement keycaps for your keyboard. It's 5 years later. I still haven't received them.
Oh, geez.
Okay. Now, one other thing too, I just want to say is I'm sorry, but this Atari VCS is way overpriced. Okay, you're starting to compete with Xbox One and PS4. Okay, because you're getting up to the $300 mark. So I think.
Hold on, Dave. You're forgetting they're including wood grain.
Sorry, say again.
You're forgetting the wood grain.
Oh, the piece of wood.
Yeah,
yes.
Stickers, nice decals.
The Cadillac of the Atari.
There you go.
Okay.
The Coupe de Ville. No, that's, the thing is that, Hasbro did this with Jabba's sail barge. It was, they needed, I think, 8,000 backers at $500 a pop to pre-purchase this thing. But here's the thing. They had not only a prototype, but they actually had an actual model of this thing. They had a price point. It's Hasbro, so, and they did their own in-house funding of it. It's like, And, it actually made sense because here's something that they can't mass produce to put out into the stores because only the collectors are going to be able to want this and afford it. And they got it. I mean, they met their goal.
Yeah.
Sadly, I had to withdraw from it, but I'm kind of glad I did because I have no idea where I was going to put a 4-foot.
Bob, what'd you do with that money, Bob?
No. It showed up on the credit card bill, and it was like, "What is this?" I was like, "Yeah, you're right. My bad." But it made for good. But totally busted. But made for some good conversation with Hasbro customer service. They said, "Oh, this is the best excuse I'm going to have to give to my boss ever." It's like my wife said I either cancel the order or I will be sleeping in this. So,
wow.
Married to the wood grain, right?
There you go. So but I could see something with. Hasbro makes toys. This is what they do, and they did it in house. They made not only representations, computer modeling, but they actually built an actual prototype that was in real form. And it's like, and then they figured out a price point. They baked they baked a lot of other stuff into the price. Off you go. Bob's your auntie. Have a nice day. Enjoy. It's gonna take a year for you to get it. But you're going to get it. This Atari VCS, I mean, you're going to get this thing, but what is it? That's my question.
Nobody really knows.
Well, I'm sure, like all of us. Okay, I have two Atari 2600 or VCS Heavy Sixers. I've got a Light Sixer AV modded. I've got a Harmony Encore cart, so I can play all the 2600 games and homebrews, etc., etc. So obviously I don't need this to play 2600 games. So I think I'd rather wait for the Retron 77, see how that comes out. If you're looking for something more modern with HDMI to play 2600 games. But as a streaming box and all the other stuff that they want to do with it, I don't know. There's already streaming boxes out there for dirt cheap. I don't know what they're trying to do. Let's just wish the best, and hopefully everybody who paid their $300 or $200 gets something, that piece of wood that Glenn was talking about. However, I'm very happy with my 1977 simulated VCS wood. Thank you.
I myself as well. I will make my last little bit to put in on this. My prediction is this. It will be a streaming box with a native mode, and it will have a Atari 2600 emulator in it, so you could play all those games and everything else. I think it's basically going to be an Atari flashback machine in a sleek new box that is able to stream games. That's my prediction.
And instead of $40,
I think it's going to be exactly what Steve has on his Xbox. I think if they're going to steal that emulator, basically that Steve has on his Xbox that he demonstrated on his YouTube channel.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there you go.
And I really think they're just going to throw that in there with an Atari 5200 emulator as well, and along with probably the 7800 and so on and so forth. It's easy.
Yeah. It's I'd love for this thing to come out and wow me. Now, the great thing, and here's where I think it could be a success for everybody who's wanted a flashback, but it's a fixed system. You can't add anything to it. You can't take anything from it. It's you purchase that thing, you get those games, you plug it into your TV, off you go. This thing has the potential to where you can add or remove games, stream games, and stuff like that. So I do see some sort of advantage to it, I guess you could say. But again, it has potential. It has potential.
It's got potential. It'd be a nice thing to have. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't mind having something like that on my desk. I think they're going about it the completely wrong way. I think they're going about it the Coleco Chameleon way, and I'm a little disgusted by the way that they're going about it.
I can see that. Absolutely.
Price points got to come down. Price points got to come down. That's way too high.
Price points definitely got to come down. That I think who was it? Mr. Tellerico. I think he's got the right idea. That's what made these games successful in the first place. Was the fact. I mean, look at the Odyssey. An amazing computer system. Hey, great. Home games. Oh, this is incredible. Who won the war? It was Atari. Why? Not because they were better, but because they were cheaper. They were able. It wasn't just for the masses who had the money. Atari got into everybody's homes because here's everybody else's machine. I mean, this was back in the 70s. $200-$300. Holy smokes! That's a lot of greenbacks to be given up. Now all of a sudden Atari comes along. Hey, we can get one of these video game machines inside your home for $120. Now all of a sudden it gets in the range of the blue collar family, and that's how you win. You win by selling.
Yep.
Price point's got to come down.
It really reminds me of the Ouya, and I've managed to find an Ouya, or Ouya, I think is how you pronounce it, at a thrift store for $20 not all that long ago, and I grabbed it, and it's an emulator box, and it doesn't look very handsome. I think the new VCS looks pretty nice. It's a piece of art, so I think it will sell better than the Ouya, but how much better is the real question, You
know what? Visually, that new VCS it looks great. It does look great.
Yeah, I agree.
Steve, I think it's the ooh yeah.
Oh yeah,
like, ooh yeah, I bought this. Ooh yeah.
Well, when I bought mine at the thrift store for $20, I was definitely ooh yeah.
There you go.
There you go. Glenn, what do you have going for us right now?
Well, I've had a lot going on. I mean, since our last podcast, I've switched jobs. I was 13 years at my last health center job, and I'm now the supervisor of 15 techs for 7 hospitals.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It takes up a lot of time. But the time I do have, I have a couple projects going on right now. One is my almost finished Coleco, not Chameleon, Coleco Pac-Man with a built-in laser projector. So you can play your game on the screen and project it up on the wall for other people to see you playing and blind them with the laser, of course. Always an added benefit.
I hate it when that.
Working on that. I've actually been working on and off also on a new, not a flex circuit, but something for the 5200 controller that hopefully it'll work better. It's very slow coming, but if it works out, no more flex circuit problems, I hope. Expect that sometime in the early 2030s by the time it's done. Very good. and probably the big reason is the latest project I've been working on is this MyArcade conversion. A lot of people have, complained. I mean, Negan beat me in the head with a bat recently over these systems not playing arcade ROMs. And the latest MyArcade, the Data East, has 34 arcade games built into it, which is basically they have a small Android device built into it, and I've been able to hack into the OS, and I've got it working with other emulators. I'm trying to do the video for it, and it's just giving me a hard time now, just trying to get it all done the proper way. So in between blinks of my eyeballs, I'm trying to get that done. My buddy David as well. I'm actually working on his for him. I don't know why, because I do remember one time on eBay, I was trying to get a trackball, and he bid that out for me. I still didn't have yet.
But my friend, you finally did get a trackball.
I did, and I got a nice box. Thank you for that, David.
You're very welcome.
Other than that, not to rehash the thing, but there's a lot of things happening in the community. There is new in television that was talked about, which people are getting excited about. There's the Atari VCS people apparently are excited about. I'm not on board with that yet. There's a lot of things happening with retro in general, like MyArcade, the Bridge Direct. They're making better systems now. Catered really for us to a point, but that's really all that's going on right now. That and just trying to keep the house clean, which is never easy.
And that with Glenn being my central depot in the United States of America, with my packages coming 24 hours a day, and he has no room left in his house. That's why he's going to the basement.
Yeah, I expect to kick my door down any minute. I got the warehouse of David's stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, goodness. So with that, hey, Steve, you've been working on quite a few things. What's going on with you?
Yeah, well, since our last podcast, I've done some interesting stuff on my YouTube channel, Wired Up Retro. Back in December, I was experimenting with getting a mouse to work on the 5200, and it's a nice long episode. It lasts close to 40 minutes, but I try to connect a number of adapters together using a USB hub that's plugged into a wall, and I eventually got things set up in a way that I could actually play River Raid pretty well with a mouse, and I played some Beam Rider with the mouse, and even a fidget spinner, spinner device that I put together, worked on Beam Rider pretty well. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was fun, and I even got Dreadnought Factor reasonably working, so it was a lot of fun. I got that accomplished back in December, and then around, I don't know, late January, early February, I managed to put up a video on how to convert the Atari 5200 trackball into essentially a spinner, or you could say a rotary dial controller. And it's actually not a very challenging mod. You do have to, have some wood involved, and it takes maybe a good, afternoon to complete. But
now is this the thing that you made with the WD-40 cap?
Yeah, the WD-40 cap is the spinner knob. So.
I saw that, and I was like, wait a second, I got a whole garage full of those caps. I can send them to you.
You just rob it off the can, and you're set. But yeah, it works pretty nicely. It does take a little extra movement of the dial to move, let's say, the Tempest shooter around the circle. What I'm getting at is that you do have to put a lot of effort into moving it a lot to get them to move, properly. And once you kind of dial it in and you get used to knowing how far to spin the spinner, it gets really pretty easy to play the game Tempest. And I've really come to greatly enjoy Tempest because of that mod. In fact, just a couple of months ago, I tried to friend the guy who's behind the Tempest 5200 cartridge. He did the programming for it when it came out in 2012. His name's Keithan Hyenga. So I've friended him on Facebook, and he actually replied back to me. He's like, so I'm not sure I really personally met you. What would make you want to be my friend on Facebook? So I gave him a nice, complimentary explanation of, you're a legend. This is the best possible software, we could have gotten for the game Tempest. I mean, it's a raster graphics masterpiece of a vector game. And so anyway, he accepted my friend request. So I was all thumbs up about that. So anyway, it was fun.
That's again, sign of the times. If we try to reach out to people, trying to find an email is tough. Trying to find this, that, and the other is tough. But man, if anything, with all of its faults, I got to say, Facebook is probably one of the best ways to reach out and actually connect with people. And I don't blame him. My wife, she's friends with a lot of publishers and writers in New York. Some of which, yes, you have heard of, and they have two Facebook accounts. They have their very public account, and then they have their private one for people who that are actual friends, and that's something I think I should have done years ago myself, but. But I just watch myself on there now. But I'll tell you that is Facebook is such a great way to reach out and actually connect with people. And I know Joe DeCure, one of the architects of Atari's computer line and also the 5200. He's pretty prolific, or he used to be on Facebook, and actually a very approachable guy and stuff. So I'm glad that worked out for you. Yeah,
it was really kind of neat. So that's the spinner or rotary controller project. I might have a video on that. And then the video I did back a couple of months ago had to do with taking an Atari 2600 pair of paddles and by making a little easy-to-make adapter that plugs into the Behokey adapter for the Atari 5200, which is a PC 15-pin to Atari 5200 15-pin controller adapter. So anyway, I plugged all this stuff together, and I managed to get the paddles working on the 5200. So there's a couple of unique things you can do with these paddles. I don't have just one paddle working for, let's say, playing Super Breakout, but I've got two paddles working, and one controls the horizontal axis of the, controls, and the other one does the vertical axis. So you can play with, say, Dreadnought Factor or River Raid. These kinds of games have two axes going, and I even show in the video how if you connect these paddles together and, in a unique way. I used some Velcro. I also used a stand that you mount them to. Anyway, it's a unique video, and it's kind of a Frankensteining of paddle controllers. And so I was playing some games, with that. And one other thing you can do is hand one of the paddles to a buddy, and if you plug in, let's say, the game Moon Patrol, you got one guy controlling the left and right for the moon buggy, and the other guy is controlling the jumping over the rocks while you're shooting. So it's kind of a fun two-player experience, I will say. The 5200 is really kind of extra fun when it comes to two-player experiences. So anyway.
Oh, that's too cool.
Yeah, so my upcoming video is going to be about Star Wars the arcade game, not just on the Atari 5200, but there's a little version on the GameCube, and I've managed to find a way to, with many adapters all connected together, to use an N64 controller to play a GameCube. And so I'm going to reveal that on my next video. It's kind of unique. I don't think it's ever been. Yeah, I don't think it's ever been done before. But what's cool about the Nintendo 64 controller is there's a little, you put the jump pack in the bottom. Well, there's a motion controls jump pack that was sold back in the 90s for that system. And I've got that installed, and I'm actually playing the Star Wars arcade game emulation on the GameCube with the N64 controller. You got like mid-air type controls, and you're moving the controller around to play the game Star Wars Arcade.
Oh.
And, so it's kind of weird, but I definitely am doing this video. So the video should hopefully be out in the next couple weeks.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing as far as my channel. And, as far as my gaming collection, I recently added Montezuma's Revenge, which I know is a favorite of yours, Bob,
Yep.
and all you guys probably like Monty. But and then there's also I grabbed Dig Dug. I had always played it on my 7800, but when you find it for $3 at the Korg's convention, you just got to grab it because I need it on the 5200. So anyway, I'm enjoying that. So great to add to the collection every once in a while. So there you go.
Well,
that's what's going on with me.
Sorry, I haven't played the 7800 version of Dig Dug, but the 200 version of Dig Dug, definitely has better sound.
Yeah, because
I'm not sure. I can't remember. Maybe when we get down to that, reviewing that game in 2060. But when we get around to reviewing that game, I think it may be the superior version when you compare it to the 7800 version. So,
well, I think 7800 might have a little better color. Number of colors in the game on screen. Probably. But you're right about the music. I'm pretty sure the audio is better on 52.
The audio is fantastic on the 5200. Mm-hmm. The graphics are kind of meh. I mean, yeah. I've played that here recently, and I took a look at it, and again, the sound is dead on. I mean, that pokey chip comes through, does a beautiful job of bringing out those sounds and everything. But man, the gameplay is there. It's solid, dead on.
Yeah, right. But the look,
the look, those graphics. I mean, they're almost 2600-esque. They're just kind of meh.
I'm kind of in the same camp when it comes to Joust. I think Joust doesn't look as good as the 7800 version, but man, the gameplay is just fantastic. And I can't put it down. When I plug that card in, I'm playing it. So, I really like the 5200 version. It just doesn't look quite as great as the 78, but it's close. It's not too far off.
It's pretty close. And for gameplay, I mean, we'll get to Joust, but that is one addictive game, especially when you use the master play.
Oh, again, definitely.
It just cuts that thing loose. Well, I think Steve, you're hot wiring everything together. From the Motor City, we got Pete. Pete, what are you hot wiring together? I know that you are out and buying like a madman. You're finding these things in the wild.
Gentlemen, the windfall of Atari 5200 collection that I'm going through right now, actually I should say it is a windfall. It's absolutely on fire. Since we last talked, I believe I was nearing the halfway point. Well, if you've seen the Vietnam movie Platoon, they brought up the point. They brought up the point that when you're over there for a certain amount of time, you get to start counting backwards, for your years served. Well, I have more than crossed the halfway point, and I am now counting backwards.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. In my journey to a complete collection, I am at 44 games.
Oh, wow.
Now, mind you, I am not going for the box in these games. I'm shopping for game and manual. The reason being is that I'm playing these games. So now I want them in pretty good condition, if not mint, because I want to make sure not only do they work but look good, but I'm just going for game and manual. But if the box happens to be there, and Bob, I told you before our podcast, and I'll let our listeners know about the video game price chart app. You should download it. So the VGPC app, you can go to the Google Play Store and download that. I highly recommend that app. But guys, since February, let me run down some of the games that I picked up since February. A complete in-box version of Pitfall, James Bond game and manual, Ball Blazer box game and manual, Space Shuttle game manual overlays. As you know, guys, I'm going for a complete set of the original overlays. So having the Space Shuttle overlays, not only do I have the overlays, guys, they're still in the perforated edges. So I have the whole thing. It's still perforated. It's wonderful.
Oh, man.
It's seriously great. I got Gyrus game and manual, Dreadnought Factor game and manual. Steve, I know you let me. We traded for Dreadnought, so I'll get to that. I got a complete version of Qbert for only $8.26, and it's mint. So I couldn't pass that up. So
that is awesome.
I already sold on eBay my old copy of Qbert. Star Raiders complete because I needed the overlays and I needed an upgrade. So I got Berserk complete, Beam Rider with game and manual, Rescue on Fractalus with game and manual. Here comes one of the, now, again, as I'm at 44 games, I'm now starting to get into some of the more sought after ones. Pitfall 2 with box, game, and manual. By the way, only $25. That's with shipping.
Oh, nice.
That's great.
Very good.
Absolutely wonderful. Moon Patrol game and manual, and Congo Bongo game and manual. Now, I have a little bit of a story about Congo Bongo. I'll get to that. And then here come the final two. The one I just recently got was, as you guys know, I posted to our personal Facebook private messenger because I was so happy. A complete box set of Miner 249er for $24.
Nice.
And it's in very good shape. And then I got game and manual of Zaxxon. So I'm very happy to have that for game and manual. So,
Pete,
again,
I'm going to interrupt you for just a second. I've actually been watching Miner 2049er on eBay. That is one of the few games right now that is still reasonably priced.
Mm-hmm.
But let me tell you how I got it for $23.99. Again, I go to eBay daily and I type in the old ending soonest and then newly listed. When I typed in newly listed, this happened to be the second listing down. So basically it had been on the internet or on eBay for less than a half hour, and I bought it immediately because I went to that app that I just recently mentioned, the video game price charting app. The complete box set, I believe it was at like $28 or $29, maybe closer to $35. I can't remember off my head, but my whole point is that I got a complete box set for $23.99. It was a steal. So
Wow.
I got it before anybody could even see it.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Pete, I have a question for you.
Yes,
so I've
sir.
noticed on eBay the price of Star Wars Death Star Battle, that's the Return of the Jedi game for the 5200, is like crazy high. It's like over $100. And have you obtained that game?
I have not. Both Star Wars games I am still trying to find a bargain for when I shop for this stuff. I'm still trying to find minty condition, but I'm trying to, again, find the newly listed buy nows that are a little underpriced. So I haven't found those yet. One game I'm winning a current bid on is Vanguard, game and manual. And then I just won Pango, game and manual, which made game 44 for my collection. But the Star Wars games, no. Same for Robotron 284 and Space Dungeon. Again, trying to find with the coupler at a good price, trying to find both games for that. I'm having a kind of tough time. But I'm basically left to find the River Raid overlays, which I found a set for only $5, but they're very damaged. So I'm going to pass. And then I'm left with both the Mountain King and Gorf overlays, and then that'll complete. That's all I have left to go on the overlays.
Very nice.
So sorry for the long update there, guys, but a lot going on. But let me get to the Congo Bongo thing I mentioned.
Well, before you go any further, Pete, I just want to say as a Canadian, you're making me cry. But it's tears of joy because at least an American friend can actually find these games for good, reasonable prices.
It's wonderful prices, but I do have a bunch of extras, so maybe I'll get to that maybe later on. Maybe I'll say this live on the air because I've talked about it with you guys before. Maybe we should do a giveaway of some of my extras I've accumulated, which includes another, I'm not saying we're going to give this away. I'm just saying, which includes an extra copy of Ball Blazer, Joust. Steve, I have your extra copy now of Dreadnought Factor since I upgraded. I got an extra copy of Moon Patrol, and I have an extra copy of Star Raiders, just to name a few. So maybe we could probably pick one and do a giveaway to one of our listeners.
Yeah, after you mail them to me.
Okay. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, which one do you... Well, actually, yeah, I should ask you first, Dave. Do you need any of those that I ran off?
Yeah, all of them is okay.
Oh, God.
No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. A Dreadnought Factor I would love to get. I have not. That is a really good game for the Atari 5200 in which the controller excels at that game. Yeah. So that would be a great game to get.
Well, real quick to my Congo Bongo story. Let me go grab the remnants, and we have to say a little prayer.
Oh.
Unless there's a lot of super glue in the world. I own a copy of Congo Bongo, which I had to upgrade. For some reason, along the backing, a little oval chip sort of detached from the back. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm going to have to glue that back in. Well, I've never opened an Atari 5200 case before, let alone a Sega Atari 5200 case. As we all know, Congo Bongo is by Sega. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure that Glenn and Steve, who are familiar with this stuff, know better. I did not know about those two little lips at the bottom. So after I pulled the screw out with the screwdriver, I was tugging at this thing, and I broke, not only do I have that little oval crack, but I broke those two little lips off at the bottom. So basically this backing is complete trash.
Oh.
So I own a copy of Congo Bongo with basically half of a backing. I have all the pieces. It's only 3 pieces. They didn't crack into like little shards. But I'm going to have to attempt to glue it, but it unfortunately would be with a cracked back, super glued together.
Send it to you know what, Pete? Just send it to Metal Jesus.
Yeah. He'll fix it.
Yeah, with a big big knife right in the middle of it or something like that.
He'll make a video about it.
Oh God. So gentlemen, if I'm at 44 games, if my math is correct, that leaves me with 25 to go. So obviously of the more rare ones, so we're just going to continue to fight.
I am currently, in fact, I'm on eBay right now. I'm looking at the Bounty Bob Strikes Back, the only one that's on there.
The 60 one?
Yeah, it's like $1,600 and some odd dollars. Yeah.
You can
and I just
mortgage
realized that the the minor 2049er that I was going to pull the trigger on, you're the one who got it.
Oh, that was your... Oh, so I saw it before you.
Yeah.
The 1999 plus $4 shipping?
Yeah.
Oh, see, now Glenn, see, now I've entered your realm where Dave, or did Dave take from Glenn? I forgot which way it went around.
We keep swiping from each other on eBay. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
We got to communicate.
Well, as Glenn would say, I basically...
Then, Bob, let me clue you in on something. Can I make it up to you?
Oh, no. You don't have to make it up to me. I mean, I'm good.
Let me be a friend. Let me be a friend and let the podcasting world and the Atari 5200 world hear this, because it'll be after the fact.
Okay.
So my whole point is that I currently have on my watch list, because the minor 249er that I bought, it had some imperfections in the label, and just coincidentally coming online recently, actually ending in 15 hours, is a very, very immaculate, complete in-box minor 249er. Only one bid on it right now. No, it's not mine. $12. I'll give it to you.
Oh, no. I can't do that.
I'll give it to you.
Oh.
That's what friends do. That's what kind of friend I am. I'm just letting you know right now it's by a seller named EDIE218. So Eddie or Edie 218. And he has 273 sales at 100% feedback. It's minor 249er. It says US $12, one bid. I'll give it to you.
I am looking at it right now. Oh, my goodness.
It's yours. Yep. I'm the one. If it says one watcher, I'm the one watcher.
Oh. I think. Yeah, one bid and one watcher. There you go.
I'm the one watcher. I'll give it to you.
If you win it, I'll accept it. But
no. My whole point is I'm letting you know about the thing. I'll back off.
Oh. Well, hold on. Let me place bid.
No, don't place now. Wait till 10 seconds to go.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, how much longer? 14 hours. Okay, I got plenty of time. Okay.
So I don't know if you're going to be on a flight or whatever, but my whole point is that I'll back off. I'll give that to you. You know what I mean? It's like let you try to win it.
Got it. Perfect. Done. Okay. Perfect. We'll do this when we do our next episode with the real sports games. We'll let everybody know whether or not I get it or not.
Is that minty?
It is. It's gorgeous, and it's got apparently it's the rare gold label on the cartridge.
And that's the one that I got, and that's why I wanted to upgrade it. But I'll wait. I'll find another upgrade someday. Take that one, brother.
I will give it a shot. I will give it my best. That's actually really lovely.
Now you see.
Thank you.
That's what we do here on the Atari 5200 podcast. We look out for one another.
We enable each other's mania.
That's correct.
Oh, good times. Well, I think it comes all down to David now. David, what? I know you got a few things going, and we basically have been kind of tracking the same thing, especially. I'm going to kind of skip down the notes here, but I believe it's pronounced Ralph Puchner. I believe he's in Germany, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, so I am waiting with bated breath to find out what happens with his Atari 5200 Black Edition, which looks phenomenal.
Well, let me start before we get into my updates, or part of my updates. So I was able to pick up 2 loose carts of Pitfall 2 and Moon Patrol for the Atari 5200 for less than $9.99 each. Now,
nice.
Here's the one thing from a Canadian perspective, okay? A lot of people who sell on eBay don't want to deal with international shipping. So they use what's called eBay global shipping. So that, like, for example, that game you guys were talking about for $12, let's say, for example, Bob, you win that for $12, and let's say sometimes in the States, within the States, shipping is free or a very small amount, like let's say $4 or whatever it is, right?
Okay.
Well, eBay Global Shipping comes in between, and they say, okay, no problem. American seller, you don't have to deal with international sales. You're going to sell your game, you're going to mail it to our distribution hub, and we'll deal with the rest. Okay. So here comes David. He goes and he wants to buy that game, let's say, for $12. Okay. But then what happens is eBay Global Shipping gets in between and it says, okay, oh, excellent. You won that game for $12. Now we're going to charge you another $12 to $15 for shipping. Now we're going to charge you another $5, $6 for customs and duties, which you never, hardly ever pay on such a low-priced item. And then when we do the Canadian conversion, that beautiful $12 game probably going to cost me close to $50.
Yeah.
This is why Glenn now has a department store in his house so that David can afford to buy some things on eBay and get
These
them
guys are
shipped.
laughing like it's not true.
No, I'm laughing because I know it's true, and it's completely understandable.
Actually, I came home one day and Blue was buried on the box. I didn't know where he was.
Oh,
It was like Armageddon. He was under it.
Well, let me put it to you this way. Glenn, right? So Glenn and I were both kind of like, we have a sickness.
We're enablers.
And yes, so if we were, for example, if we were in Alcoholics Anonymous and we were each other's support, we'd be wasted. So, for example, recently, I had one when I was a kid. It was called a Microvision. I think it's the world's first handheld video game system.
I remember that.
And Glenn picked up one not too long ago. And of course, you know, I saw it, and I remember the memories are coming back of playing the Star Trek game that didn't have nothing to do with Star Trek, and the stuff like that. So, you know, my hand starts to shake. It gets near a mouse. Somehow eBay goes on, and kaboom! I now own a Microvision with a couple of games. Okay,
Nice.
and it's really minty mint. Now the thing is,
Why stop there?
the thing is, the one problem with those is that the screens go bad, and it's getting harder and harder to find ones with good screens. So there's somebody on Atari Age who is going to be producing replacement screens, so that the thousands and upon of thousands of surviving Microvisions and Microvision owners will be able, without soldering, be able to replace their screens and have a Microvision that will work for years to come.
Very cool.
And to sell on eBay for $1,600 because wow, look.
Yes, but I'm getting in on early while it's still, you know, around the $20 price range. So of course, you know, because you know, with me, so I had to buy the Microvision. So I got the Microvision. It was about $70. It came with a couple of games, but it was really mint and immaculate. And then of course, you know, my illness says you got to have a backup copy. Come on.
Oh, David, I've got to tell you, yeah, that got lost in the mail.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, so if you see one on my channel, it's like immaculate. It's not yours.
Oh, okay, no problem, no problem. So then I bought a second one, but you know, again, you know, it's super prohibited to get these things from eBay over to Canada when they use eBay shipping, because it adds all these different charges, because what they're doing is they're working through, I think, a company called Pitney Bowes, and what Pitney Bowes does is like people like UPS and other, they charge like all these extra charges on top, like brokerage fees and things, right?
I hate to say this, but a lot of the highly rare collectible Star Wars stuff that I had,
yes,
that I sold a lot overseas. I hate to say it. It was so convenient to do that, though. There is a gentleman in Kent, England, who bought my complete. Wait for it. It was given to me in a shopping bag because the kid didn't want it anymore. But I had a complete 12-inch tall, the 1/6 scale, IG-88 from Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
And it was loose, but it was complete. And a nice gentleman in Kent, England, I hope he's enjoying it in his collection, because I had this thing in a box, and it wasn't doing anything. And it was like, you know what, this thing needs to be out. He paid about 470 pounds, not dollars, pounds for this thing at the time. And I think the shipping, it came to like $107 for him to have the pleasure of having this thing shipped to his front door. Now,
so hang on, so 500 plus the 107?
Well, I'm not going to say how much I got for it. It was well, whatever the conversion for 470 pounds is.
Right, I was going to say, yeah, that's like $600. Yeah.
Yeah. He paid around that, and then it was another $107 to ship it. But he was the one who picked up the price for that. I hate to say it, it was super convenient for me, because all I got to do is throw it in a box, make sure it's packed properly, slap the sticker on it, and off it goes. And Pitney Bowes does it, but the shipping is done. I looked at the address. It's out of Cincinnati. Actually, it's out of Erlanger, Kentucky.
That's where it goes.
Which is, Erlanger, Kentucky. Now, if you don't know where that is where the Cincinnati International Airport is, and the major hub for DHL.
Okay.
And why do I know this? Because I fly in and out of there all the time, and those planes are all lined up. So that's what they're doing. They're doing their own. They're doing their own shipping, customs clearance, and everything else right there in Kentucky. So they're able to ship it overseas, throw it in the box. Not throw it in the box, but throw it in the box car or the truck, and just zip it along. So it's super expensive, but it's unbelievably convenient.
I'm glad for your convenience.
I knew that was not gonna go over well. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Well, if I can interject, just to have some. Since you're talking about toys right now, I would like all my Atari 5200 listeners who are also maybe $6 Million Man Kenner toy fans to come and visit my brand new Facebook page called the Custom Kenner $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman Project.
Ooh, I got to do that.
Oh.
And that's listed under one of my fake names. So anyway.
Okay.
So I hope you guys enjoy it. It's taken me about 2 years to get to this point so far. Basically, it's my own unique custom set with a brand new action figure, Dr. Rudy Wells, that was never ever made by Kenner. I'm making my own with the help of friends.
Oh, that's cool.
And all of the outfits have all been custom made to match up with the actual photographs of the actors.
That'll be cool.
Nice, very nice.
Thank you. Enjoy.
It'd sure be nice if we had a Bionic Man game for the 5200, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that just be special?
That would be more than special. What adventure would they go on? That's the thing. You got to pick the right adventure, and then if you do it, then didn't they have that thing with the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman where they're trying to shut down the Doomsday Machine or something like that?
Yeah, they also had
the Bionic Woman with that one.
That was the Bionic Woman one.
Oh, okay.
They also had Bigfoot, so you'd have to be in the 5200 game, absolutely. Bigfoot.
Yeah.
You know what? You got
Bigfoot.
You could throw Bigfoot in there. You could throw Mascotron in there. These are all level bosses.
Oh, that's right. God, I forgot. I got to watch that show all over again.
You know, I've been watching Westerns lately, boys, and I was thinking about a good Atari 5200 game, and just hear me out on this one. Especially for the 4-port Atari 5200. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh, you could play.
Yeah, right. One's the good, one's the bad, one's the ugly. Because the whole movie is the race for gold.
Right.
It's just a simple game.
But it could be so much fun.
Right. But exactly as a multiplayer, if that's possible. I don't even know if that's possible.
Well, now that I'm a Facebook friend of that guy who made Tempest for the 5200, I guess maybe I could ask him to start working on these games. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm kidding.
No problem.
Yeah, right. So that, I think that'd be kind of interesting if there would ever be Is it possible on an 8-bit to have a multiplayer?
Well, you have 4 ports, right? So we do have games that already are multiplayer with the 4
Yep.
ports,
Well,
right?
but that's taking turns.
No.
Aside from Wizard of War and
Wizard of War is 2-player. You've got Breakout, which I think is up to 4-player. You've got Mule.
But that's again each turn, right? I'm talking about multiplayer, like at the same time.
Well,
Didn't
Warlords. You got Warlords.
I was going to say somebody I think made a homebrew of Warlords or something along
yes,
the
I have
lines
that
of that.
one.
Okay.
And that one is 4-player simultaneous.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So it can do it. The question is, can you split screen it?
See, folks,
Yeah.
that's why you want the 4-port, not the 2-port.
Right.
Exactly. Yep. I have
Love
a
it,
4-port.
Glenn.
Love
Thank
it.
you.
Yep.
Stick up for the 4-port.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So
Old Sparky.
It sounds like an old gentleman sitting on his porch in the backwoods of Alabama, old Sparky. How would you not
Sparky.
want, a console that's nicknamed that?
And he has that same accent like the Pepperidge Farm man, the old Pepperidge Farm man. Yeah, Pepperidge Farm remembers, yeah. That guy always gave me the creeps, though. I don't know. Anyway, David, you want to give a shout out to Ed Kelly.
Yes. So what happened was, as you know, there was a tragedy. My Gremlins didn't make it in one piece through the custom system.
So sad.
And Ed Kelly saw my post that I put out there, and he said, "Hey, David, you know what? I don't really need the box anyway. I'll send you the box." So I said, "Wow, that's great, awesome." So I was expecting to pay for it. He said, "Well, give me your address, so that I guess he would give me a quote, what shipping would be." So I gave him my address and all that, and then as I followed up with him, I said, "Well, I'd like to pay," and it's already shipped.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so
Nice.
I got it here. I'll be taking pictures of it, and so everybody can see I have now a complete Gremlins for the Atari 5200, thanks to Mr. Ed Kelly.
Dave, just in honor of your story,
Yeah.
you don't know that song?
Gremlin!
Thank you.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, don't play any more than 10 seconds of it, otherwise we have to pay royalty.
Well, there you go. That was, I'm sorry, that was 12 seconds. You better edit.
I'll edit it down to 10.
And we're gonna have to do a review of the game, right?
And
really
he
is
is
nice,
awesome,
nice,
and
yeah,
I'm glad to be
yeah.
his friend on Facebook, and hopefully one day we'll meet. But since I'll segue that into a recent conversation that I've had with Ed Kelly of Aladdin Controllers about
Yes.
the eventually coming Super 52 controller made for the Atari 5200. Now, he said that he had finally finished the Kickstarter fulfillment, which had to do with a previous controller. I believe it was the ColecoVision controller. And so he said that as far as the Super 52 controller is concerned, he's got a little bit of ways to go before the finish line. He's still gathering data. He wants to offer a simple, less expensive version that will use a widely available potentiometer-based analog stick, plus an X-axis pot-based paddle controller. He would also like to offer a deluxe version that uses a Hall effect arcade stick and an optical spinner that could be switched between paddle and spinner modes. He said, "I'm also pretty firm that I want an ambidextrous layout in the center and a pair of arcade fire buttons on each side, much like the Atari CX52 controller. And that will also accommodate all kinds of types of games and players." So he's tightening up the concept, and he's bought a couple of analog sticks to play with, but nothing more than concrete about that for now. But at least that knowing someone like Ed Kelly, it will be a magnificent controller, high quality, and the Super 52 will eventually come out, and I will definitely purchase one at least.
Yeah, I'll probably pick up one or two along with it. I mean, it's Ed builds some of the best, most highest quality controllers I've ever seen.
I'm sure it's going to be a work of art. It's going to be fantastic.
So, so what I want to also just let everybody know that there was a new podcast I recently found, and you can never have enough Atari podcasts. And this podcast is called Into the Vertical Blank, Growing Up Atari, and they gave us a shout out on their last episode, which was episode 3, I believe.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah. Now let me just
appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh yeah, they're listeners of our podcast, so I just bumped into them accidentally, and I found that out. So let me just give you a brief description what their podcast is about. So it says, we are twin brothers who grew up Atari, or as we call it, Into the Vertical Blank. The vertical blank is the space between the lines. It's where the work occurs you never see on screen. It's the nuances that makes nostalgia real. It's the transcendental. It's the guys. Don't give me multi-syllable words here. It's the transcendental location that holds our best memories, biggest joys, greatest fears, and our most terrible losses. In this podcast, we will discuss Atari computers and systems, new and old, review new games we collect, talk about the systems and the significance they had in our lives and the lives of others, and even talk about them in historical context with the backdrop, the times they were released, and how they're being used now. We do all this in an effort to finally understand the answer of the existential question, what does it mean to have grown up Atari in the generation of the vertical blank? Another shout out I want to give is to Brian Puddin. He has a YouTube channel called Brian's Man Cave. And I hope to be on one of his shows coming soon. It will be a live stream where I will talk about Atari. And of course, will be there supporting the Atari 5200 brand. Now, he recently had a video where he was thinking about, where people were telling him, he was thinking about getting into Atari and what to choose. Should he take a 5200 or should he get an 8-bit Atari? Of course, I hope the listeners would know that my answer was, you need a 5200.
The Atari 5200.
Okay?
Very nice.
Unfortunately, he may have swayed to getting an Atari 8-bit instead. But since he lives in a city very close to me, I hope to meet him in person one day. I will bring over my Atari 5200. Once he feels those beautiful analog sticks, once he plays games that are made for those sticks, once he tries out Robotron and
Space Dungeon,
he will then regret his decision.
Star Raiders.
Yeah.
And I've told him there's a lot of games that are on the 5200 that are the superior version is on the 5200. Granted, I love the Atari 8-bit computers as well, but hopefully we'll see what he gets. He most likely will get an Atari 8-bit, but I will help him to understand the era of his choice. And that's it.
Well, I think, wasn't Willie? I mean, Willie made a really great point.
Yes.
On the Facebook page where, I mean, I was just like, I second the motion because I really nailed it, which was you have analog controllers, which completely forms games like Star Raiders, and because of the brilliance of the programming by Steve Baker, Defender is an amazing game to play on the analog controllers. Then you have the trackball, where you could play, Centipede, Missile Command. There's so much flexibility with the 5200. Now, granted, there are probably some games that are too big for the 5200, or they never made them for the 5200. So you could go with the Atari 8-bit. What is it? What's that old one by Infocom? Zork.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have Zork. I mean, you could play those games on the 8-bit. That would, I mean, the Infocom games were great. But, just if it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for, big sweeping large games, go with the Atari 8-bit. If you're looking for an arcade experience, I'd go 5200 hands down.
Oh yeah, because the Atari 5200 is the arcade machine, and along with that trackball, you're getting arcade quality experience, and there's no 8-bit from that era that will come anywhere close. Not even the ColecoVision's roller controller.
Bad. I got a trackball. Took a while.
Yeah, but at least you got a box out of me, okay?
Yeah,
Yeah, but Glenn, you're absolutely right, man. The trackball is what sets the Atari business as a whole, because they had one for the 2600. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, when I say come on, guys, I mean our listeners. To our listeners, come on. There's no system that gave you a trackball but Atari. And the 5200's trackball, even though, it's large, is beautiful.
It's phenomenal.
It's a quality product. The potentiometers they used in there, the ball is a arcade quality trackball. So they did a really good job with it.
Well, and the other kicker is... Oh, go ahead.
Let's just read William's response, right? So he says, reasons to own a 5200. 1, the best home trackball. It's incredible with Centipede, Missile Command, and some other games. 2, the only home port of the arcade game Space Dungeon, which is a very fun dual-stick shooter. 3, the version of Star Raiders is absolutely fantastic on the 5200 with the analog stick. It's my favorite console to play that game on. 4, lots of classic arcade ports, plus a growing homebrew scene.
Yeah, there you go. I couldn't have said it any better.
Now, that's about right, Dave. It's a pure compliment.
Now, since we're talking about Willie, I want to just give an update. So what happened was Willie decided to focus on some of the things that he wants to do with his Toy Tune podcast. And so he had to sort of like back away from a bunch of his other podcasts. So Willie and the gang, they ended the Atari 5200 Super Community podcast. But the silver lining is that now he's making an Atari-Cade 5200 video series for his Arcade USA YouTube channel. The first episode was Star Wars Arcade, and what he's doing is he's asking people to send in either written or audio submissions, which he and the Atari 5200 Super Community Podcast crew will discuss as you watch gameplay of whatever game they're talking about at the time. And the newest video up there right now is The Wizard of War, which we reviewed in episode 2. And have a look. So the 5200 Super Community Podcast is gone, but you could say it's kind of like morphed into a different kind of maybe a video cast, and it's now available on Arcade USA. Please subscribe to the channel. Willie has lots of great videos, and the Atari 5200 will continue to be represented on his channel. Okay, now another thing.
And one of these days I'll actually get my video system up and actually start recording some of my playthroughs. But
okay,
yeah,
so
I gotta.
So now
I gotta get some stuff cleaned up.
No problem. Now another thing I just want people to know: we did start a YouTube channel, which right now all it's doing is hosting our audio podcast episodes. But what we're hoping to do is that in the future we'll have live streams, and right now, for example, in our episodes, maybe like half of our episode is like updates about what we're doing and what we found and what's going on, and then let's say the other half of the episode would be a review. What I'm hoping for is in the future what'll happen is when we actually do our audio podcast, it'll be more about reviewing the games, but we'll leave all the updates and all kinds of stuff like that. Not all of them, but maybe some of them for the video stream, and then we'll be live, so the listeners of the podcast can actually interact with us and ask us questions. So we're hoping that eventually that will roll out, but looking at now at how frequent our episodes are, I've slotted that for 2070, and hopefully we'll all be around when we finally get to try it out.
No,
that sounds fun, Dave. That's a great idea. Seriously,
it's a wonderful idea, a great format and everything else, and Yeah. Eventually, I will get the system hooked up so I can actually record these things. It's it's just a challenge because like right now, I get home and I'm like, ugh, and I got like 2 or 3 days at home, which means I'm doing my laundry, I'm mowing the lawn, I'm doing all these domestic things, and so by the time I'm actually able to like, hey, I got some free time here for me, I'll have time to just sit down and just play the video games because I got to get right back up at dark 30 and off to the airport and off from the West Coast to the East Coast and all points in between.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, but your retirement package when you're 64 years old will let you play video games from 64 all the way till you die.
That's true, but I have to live to see that.
He's got a point.
But
if I make it to 64, that's awesome.
That's what I'm saying. Your severance is going to be, or not severance, but your 401k is going to be through the. You'll be able to buy us all Bounty Bob Strikes Back complete in box.
Oh, I'm going to make it rain. Bounty Bob Strikes Back.
By then, it'll be $1 million, but he can afford it. He'll be fine.
That's right. I'll be wiping my rear end with cashmere sweaters by then.
But the point of the live stream is not to be overly produced, meaning that it's more just for us to kick back, just talk about some stuff that's going on with the Atari 5200, and more, and just like play it by ear. People will come to watch the video. Hopefully, they'll text us questions. It's nothing. It's something that doesn't. What I'm basically meaning, it doesn't take a lot of prep. While the episodes themselves, the reviews, we got to play the games, we got to write the reviews. This takes work. But what I'm hoping with the live stream, it'll be let's say it'll be pretty much like easy, free flowing stuff. Just how we talk an hour before we start to record the podcast. So
right.
Why not? We take that, interact with the listeners. I hope, like I said, hopefully it will really work. Now, I just want to update because you mentioned Ralph Puckner, right, with the Atari 5200 Black Edition. So what had happened was I've been also waiting for this console myself, and I would like to buy one. But I noticed there weren't any updates on it and such. So I asked him, and he told me basically due to a large number of orders that he received for his Coleco RBG consoles, there was a delay with the Atari 5200 HDMI mod that he's working on. But now that that's kind of getting straightened away, he'll be able to start focusing back on the Atari 5200. Hopefully that gorgeous Black Edition is closer to reality. So I'm hoping, as an Atari 5200 fan, I would really like to own one. Because with the HDMI, with the built-in, I believe 9-pin joystick, Master Play clones that are already built into the system, I think it'll be very, very cool. So I definitely will be looking forward to that.
I think that's the coolest feature of this whole thing is the fact it has built-in Master Play clones into it. That is just amazing.
Very good news.
And then, David, you had something about, I think, in Kotek is working on basically his own version of... Yeah, what's going on with that?
Okay, so Sebastian Kotek, a friend of mine on Facebook, and also the one who did I believe the 8-bit conversion to the Atari 5200 of a game called Robo. It's a really fun game. Right now it's only available that you can play it on your Atari Max cartridge. I don't know if it'll ever come on a card itself. But I mean, it's quite a fun game, and it's something, because the Atari 5200 console is so arcade heavy, there's a lot of other games that are missing from its library, like adventure games or RPG games or stuff like that. So it's really nice when people can kind of bring over games to the 5200 that kind of fill out the library. So as you know, Atari Max cartridge for the 5200 roughly costs about $129 plus shipping. So he wanted to make a version that was a little bit more inexpensive. So I was talking to him, and he told me that basically his
Atari 5200, let's call it a multi-cart or a flash cart. His cart will run 4K, 8K, 16K, 24K, 32K, and 40K ROMs. It also has an implemented 40K, so it plays the Bounty Bob with the special bank switching it needs. He also advised that Atari Max itself supports up to 512 kilobyte ROMs. His current platform is only up to 196 kilobytes is his max right now. His card can be expanded with easy updates using a PC with a USB connection. So it probably has its own firmware. It can be updated, so as time goes on, it can get better and better. I think it's less than. I think it's going to be less than $100, but it's nice to see that there is an alternative. But the Atari Max for me, that's the Cadillac of Atari.
It's well worth the price, though. It's a good cartridge.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's still nice. It's still nice to see somebody coming up with an alternative that maybe some people who maybe don't have the money to buy $129 cards, or whatever reasons. It's nice to see that there's another avenue for those people, different choices, and that way, bring more people to Atari 5200 gaming.
Yeah.
More options are always good, except in podcasts. You only need one 5200 podcast.
Thank you, Glenn.
There you go.
I'm sure the Atari 5200 Super Community Podcast appreciated that comment. Now I just wanted to say, roughly, I don't know if everybody.
Now we're going to have our homes egged.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess I'm more safe because I'm in Canada.
That's right, but you can use the organic eggs up there, so.
Yeah, well, you know what? I live on the 3rd floor, so if I happen one day to go outside on my balcony, take a deep breath, and somebody shoves an egg in it from the, I'll know the reason why.
Oh no!
Now, everybody may have seen Ben Heck. He did a video. It's called Atari 5200 Making a Better Controller. So if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and check it out.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what he could do.
Mm-hmm. Now none of these are for sale, obviously. There was like really a proof of concept.
You got to sell them. Showing and building is one thing. Sell them.
Yeah. Well, I posted already that I'm ready for orders. So now Andrew Ruth posted on Atari Age. I believe he picked up a beautiful Atari 5200 display kiosk.
Yeah, it is gorgeous.
Now that would be
good condition too.
Oh yeah, that would be like the crown jewel. If I had a collection, like a huge collection, that would be my crown jewel. Congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now I just want to give a plug to Atari Sales, Video 61 and Atari Sales. Lance over there. They're going on gangbusters with upcoming Atari 5200 games that I'm really psyched for. I plan on buying every one of them. I want to support Atari 5200 Homebrew and Lance and Video 61 and Atari Sales. They make great games. So just to name some of them, one is called Laser Blast X. These are all available to be watched on his YouTube channel. So one is called Laser Blast X. There's the Atari 5200 Putt 18, which is a golf game, a mini golf game. There's an Atari 5200. It's called Megaoids. There's a very interesting game called Atari 5200 Tile Smashers, which is sort of like a pinball / breakout combination. It's a very interesting concept, and the other one that I'm also looking forward to, because there's no action RPGs as far as I know in the Atari 5200, and this one is the one that's called Secretum Labyrinth Xenogenesis, and it's basically an action RPG on the Atari 5200. So these are all carts that are slated, that are in the works and slated to come out from Lance and the great people at Video 61 and Atari Sales. And I hope that people take a look and see if they're interested in them, and if they are, to support the good people over there. And I'm sure now that I've bestowed upon them my blessings, all of these cards will be coming to me for free in care of the Atari 5200 podcast. So thank you, Lance. I thank you ahead of time for sending me all these cards for free. Thank you.
Hey, I was going to ask that the Secretum Labyrinth Xenogenesis. I just realized something. This is the homebrew, because you're saying RPG.
Yes.
That is action. Somebody needs to make Gauntlet.
Now, there was a Gauntlet already came out for the 5200.
Oh, there was?
There was a homebrew for Gauntlet, but I'm not sure if I remember, because I've never had it. I'm not sure if there was some slowdown in it. I can't remember if it was up to 4-player, but it was very limited release. It is a homebrew. I've never been able to get a hold of it, but there was a Gauntlet. But again, exactly what you're saying, Gauntlet, 4-port, Atari 5200.
It was made for it. Oh my goodness! So
those two, Gauntlet and the 5200 4-port, they're made for each other. So hopefully one day that'll come out again, or somebody will make it an updated version or something. You hear that, Lance? Okay, good. He heard it.
Yeah. Hello.
So you know what? For the 6 months we've been off the air, virtually off the air, a lot of stuff has happened, and it's great to see that slowly it looks like the Atari 5200 scene is building up steam. And, getting there. And, of course, we'll probably never get anywhere near the 2600. They got games coming out left and right. But it's nice to finally see that the Atari 5200 is being recognized for the superior console that it is. And that people are taking the time to make great products for it.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more. It's, it's like anything else. It's kind of like a bottle of wine. The 5200, it came out too early. And it was too late. It was just one of those odd things. But now with time and age, it's well. To tell you the truth. Now, again, you got to do some rebuilding and everything because of those flex circuits. But sounds like Glenn is kind of chipping away on that little project. And with Ed Kelly messing around with the Super 52, I think we can put to rest at finally that this is the machine finally is seeing the light of day, and is being appreciated for what it actually is, which is just a phenomenal game machine. Period.
I'm excited to see where the 5200 is going.
It's a new dawn for it. Gentlemen, it has been awesome as usual. Next episode, we're finally going to finish up the Real Sports games with Real Sports Baseball and Real Sports Tennis. You can find us online on Facebook. Just search for the Atari 5200 Podcast. On Atari Age Forums, search the Atari 5200 Podcast, new podcast. And at the Atari 5200 Super Podcast at libsyn.com/RSS.
And you can find my YouTube channel, Glenn's Retro Show, on YouTube. You can just search Glenn Flatamento. Also, you can find me on Facebook on the Tiny Arcade fan page and Glenn's Retro Show Game Gurus.
And for those of you who like to experiment with controllers or maybe try something new on your Atari 5200 controller-wise, you can check out my channel. I'm Steve Averett. I do quite a few videos on the 5200 on my channel, Wired Up Retro. It's wired-up retro. So check me out on my channel on YouTube. We look forward to seeing you there.
And Pete?
Well, no, I really do appreciate you guys once again including me on. I really appreciate you meeting you through the community, and it's always fun doing shows with you guys, and I really do honestly appreciate you including me in your little group. Folks can find me on Twitter at Son of USFL Dad. USFL is a football league that was birthed in 1982. My dad was one of the front office people for that, so that's why I call him. I'm son of Dad is a Seinfeld joke, so I'm son of USFL Dad, so that to honor my late father. So there you go. You can find me on Twitter at that. Same name for my YouTube page. Now I only have 6 videos on there, actually 4 videos on there, but folks can find me there as well. And then you can find my podcasts on sportsradiodetroit.com.
Very good.
So, once again, I'm very thankful that you guys include me on the podcast. Thank you very much,
You don't have to thank us anymore because you're family now.
Yeah, you're
well, then fine. You guys can all go to hell. No, I'm just kidding. No. And by the way, just for our listeners, I want to thank our listeners as well. I mean, it's so great to have so many fans as we do and other podcasts that listen to us as well. And, the 5200 system, just for those listening, if you don't have it, just think about or look into it and do some research on it, because it's just an underappreciated system. It's not a bad system. The controllers need work, yes, I'll admit that, but they are good if you find some good ones. But like Steve and Glenn said, they both have YouTube channels, Glenn's Retro Show and Wired Up Retro for Steve. They both help you out with the controller issues, especially Steve. And then, Glenn, does a few things here and there on the 5200, as you know. But to our listeners, do some research on the 5200 on your own. Don't just listen to hearsay, even if it's positive. And you'll realize that the 5200 is worth collecting, especially with only 69 original games to collect. So if you're a collector, look into the 5200. It's a great system.
And here's the big thing. It ain't getting any cheaper. We didn't mention. I think we mentioned it a little bit earlier in there, but game prices are going through the roof, especially complete in box or complete in sealed box. The prices are going through the roof. So it's kind of like the stock that people are starting to find out about. You get into it now. I mean, you're not going to be able to get into it as cheap as you could have a couple of years ago, but like I said, it ain't getting any cheaper. So now would be a good time to get in if you're going to get into it.
Then afterwards, after you got the games you wanted, then tell people to go buy them.
That's right.
Exactly.
Don't outbid us, okay?
That's it.
Yes.
See, Glenn used an unmillennial term, while supplies last. Millennials don't know what that means.
That's right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are part of the Throwback Network. Visit throwbacknetwork.net to learn more. And also, we are a part of and very proud of the Retro Junkies Network. Find us at theretrojunkies.com.
And that's a wrap, folks.
That's a wrap. That's it.
Hope to see you in a few months. If not, Happy New Year.
That's right. Happy Thanksgiving.
You guys are hilarious. Sweet.
Real quick, because I didn't have time to mention it on the podcast.
Yeah, sure.
And especially last podcast. Real quick, guys. You know how Shaggy walks in Scooby-Doo?
Yeah.
Play the soccer game and make your figure walk.
Oh, my God.
Don't tell me that the programmer didn't watch Scooby-Doo.
That's hilarious.
Oh, I got to check that out.
He walks just like Shaggy, especially the soccer game.
That's too funny.
I'm telling you.
You heard it first.
I throw conspiracy out there.
Well, you heard it first on the Atari 5200 podcast, your one-stop destination for all things Atari 5200, folks.
I love it.
All right, good night, everybody.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program are those of the hosts and persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of ColecoVision or Intellivision owners. The Atari 5200 podcast is not responsible if you should start liking the Atari 5200 console over its competition. At this time, the Atari 5200 podcast now concludes its podcast day and ceases recording. The Atari 5200 podcast is produced under the authority of Bob Benedetti and David Vucetic. Regular listening of this episode now continues on iTunes and other quality feeds.
Discover Atari. And discover how far you can go.
I definitely would like to buy one. I'm a $5,200. Oh, look at me again. Here I'm blubbing already. Hold on a second. Where's my medication? Where's my memory medication? Hold on.
They sound like beautiful people.
Oh, I should have said. What did you say, Pete? Sorry, Steve.
Actually, my nickname in my family is Repeat. So you want me to repeat that?
Yeah.
Yeah. They sound like beautiful people.
Yes, they are. Now another shout. Okay.
Hey everybody, how you doing tonight? Oh yeah, it's just.
Hey!
Yeah. Hey!
Coming up next on the Atari 5200 podcast.
David wakes up from his nap.
Ball Blazer. Yeah, take it away.
Oh my goodness.